Hello and welcome to the Coda Guitar Level 4 lesson on fretting hand muting with single notes. Now this lesson ties in quite nicely with the previous lessons on octaves, 16th note strumming and fretting hand muting. So if you haven't already watched them, I recommend you watch them for free on the Coda Guitar website and then come back to this one. I'll just quickly recap on what we talked about strumming through an octave as it ties in quite nicely with this lesson. So basically, if we take a D octave on the A string, the 5th fret, we talked about not just wanting to play that note, but wanting to strum all the way through it and hit quite a few strings at the same time. And there's obviously also the note in the middle of that octave, on the D string, that you want to mute. And basically the way I showed you to do that is to, if you've got your first finger fretting the D on the A string, you're going to do a little bar and it's going to mute the rest of the strings basically, and then you're just going to add your little finger to the G string at the 7th fret to play the octave of a D. And you're also, we talked about actually hitting the E string as well as we come down, and that needs to be muted. I like to do that with my second finger over the top there. You could also do it with the tip of your first finger. So that's really good to know before we get onto the fretting hand muting with single notes, as the same concept applies to it really. And fretting hand muting with single notes is used in rock quite often to add a bit more articulation and character to your playing, and it also can add quite a funky sound sometimes. A good example would be Can't Stop by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I'll just quickly show you how it can make your playing sound a bit better. If we take that first example that I played in the intro and play it without doing that, without striking through the strings, you'll see that it sounds a bit more bland. So and then if I do it how I played it in the intro, you can instantly see that sounds a lot more fatter. The notes have a lot more character, a lot more attitude, and the attack of your picking hand just gives it that little bit more energy. So the technique to play like that is exactly the same as the same technique what you use with the octaves, as I just explained. But this time you're going to do it with just a single note. So it does involve a little bit more muting with extra fingers, if you like. So a good exercise to get yourself used to muting all the strings as you play a single note is to just play through a pentatonic scale. For this we'll use D minor pentatonic. If you're not too sure on that, you can watch a lesson for free on the Coda Guitar website. But I'll just quickly play through it. So you're starting on the 5th fret there, we're using this position, and it's just. As I say, if you're not too sure on that, just check it out on the website. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to try and strum through each of those notes and get really used to muting all the other strings. So obviously if you're starting on the A string there, the 5th fret, this is the one we want to hear, and you're going to be playing that with your first finger. But that obviously means that we then need to mute the E string. You could do that the same as how we mute an octave there. Bring your second finger over the top and do that. So that's that one covered. And then basically the rest should just be covered by that. Again, the same as how we played the octave. A little bar with your first finger there. So. And then again, second finger over the top. And you can see that I'm now strumming all the way through that. But you're only actually getting that D note there. It's probably quite important for this exercise to have a good flat hand position on the neck with your thumb fairly behind the neck, not coming over the top like that. As that. It's the same principle as barring, doing a bar chord really. So that's the first note there. Then if you're going to use your little finger to play the next note, the F on the 8th fret, again you can keep that bar with your first finger and just fret that note there. So you've got a full bar this time on your first finger, and you're just adding that note. So you've got. Now if we move on to the D string, to the next note in the scale, the G, it starts to get a little bit more tricky, bringing the second finger over the top to mute, because now not only have you got to mute the C string, you've got to mute the A string as well. So you do actually have to kind of arc this second finger so that it mutes these two, but not the note that we want to hear. Sometimes you might have it too flat, and you can see that I'm almost actually muting the string that we want to hear. So again, same principle applies. If you mute the notes this side of your finger with the second finger, a bar on this one can cover the G, the B and the E strings underneath it. And you can hear there that sometimes I'm getting an extra note ringing out, which is why it's really important just to really practice. Really practice getting the right hand position so that you don't get that excess noise from the other strings. And then next note up the scale, the A on the D string. This time you just want to do again that flat bar on your first finger there. You'll find that these ones are actually quite easier to mute when you're using any of these fingers, because you can just use your first finger to bar behind it. So there you have that one. Moving up again, you've now got the C on the G string, and again this is getting even harder now because you have to mute sort of 3 strings with that second finger, but the same principle still applies. Might even help to use a couple of these fingers actually, not just the second one, the third one as well. And again that bar with your first finger to cut out the B and the E strings. And then we've got the D on the G string. As before, that bar on the first finger will help there. F on the B string there, 6th fret. You can use a bar again there because it's obviously your second finger. So first finger bar there. That's the same again, the G there. Use that first finger bar. And then this one, obviously the most difficult one to mute, I find. You might want to use again both your second and third finger to come over the top there. You can see that I have this bar here and I'm just arcing it at the end to make sure I get that A on the E string there. And then finally the C on the E string, use that first finger bar there again. So if you just practice going up and down that. And you can hear that even when I was doing it there were some extra notes ringing out. And that's quite common sometimes. It just comes with practice. Sometimes you get a bit of note, but it actually, I find it has a bit of character every now and again to get a couple ringing out. So you can just pause the video lesson there and it's a really good idea just to play up and down that D minor pentatonic scale. Really practicing keeping that thumb there. You might find that you have to move position to get between the strings, but it's a really good way of getting the hang of fretting ambient with those single notes.